Hi, so we are going to start Chapter 7, Personal Finance, this time, and we will be working on taxes and interest for Chapter 7. And we begin with 7.1, which will cover percent, sales tax, and discounts. So for this topic, we will be expressing fraction as percent, decimal as percent, and percent as decimal. And then, of course, solve word problems involving sales tax and discounts, and also work with percent increase or decrease. So before we begin, let's start with some vocab words. We have percents. These are the results of expressing numbers as a part of 100. So from the word percent comes from the Latin word percentum, meaning per 100. So basically in math, we do not work with percents in calculation. We can either express them in fraction form or in decimal form. So let's begin with having a fraction needing to be expressed in percent. So what we need to do is follow these steps. We divide a numerator by the denominator, multiply by 100, and then just simply attach the percent sign. So for example, in the case of 5 over 8, so we simply divide 5 and 8. And if you do your long division with this, you know we cannot divide 5 by 8, so we add 0. So we have a decimal in here now. So 50 divided by 8, that will be a 6. That will give us 48. And this will be a 2. There's going to be a 2 here, another 0 here. This is going to be a 16. We subtract. This is going to give us a 4. And adding another 0, this is going to give us a 5. So 5 over 8 is actually 0.625. Now, for us to be able to change this to percent, we need to multiply this by 100. And when doing that, we only need to move the decimal place 2 to the left. 2 to the right, I must say. And so 5 over 8 is now equivalent to 62.5%. That's how we express fractions into percents. Now in decimals, I think we already covered this example from the fraction. What we need to do when we have a decimal is we have to multiply it by 100. So basically the easiest technique is to move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So in the case of this one, 0.47 as a percent, 0.47, we move the decimal point 2 to the right. So this is going to be equal to 47%. No matter how many decimal places there are, you can only move the decimal point into 2 places to the right. So say, for example, if your decimal, let's say 0.075, okay? So again, moving 2 decimal places to the left, to the right, my bad. That's going to give us 7.5%. All right. So this time, we are going to be changing percent into decimal numbers. So we're just moving the decimal point to the opposite direction. So this time it's going to be to the left. So if we are given the percent, and this part is the one that will be commonly be used all throughout Chapter 7 and Chapter 8 mostly, since we do not work with percents themselves in computations. We always have to change them in decimal form. So in the case of 19%, okay, the decimal point of 19% by default is after 9. So we have to move it 2 to the left. So 19% is going to be equal to 0.19. In the case of 180%, the decimal point is right after the 0. So we move it 2 to the left. So that's going to give us, it's going to give us 1.8 as our decimal, okay? Now, if you have percents that are expressed in decimal form also, so say, for example, 0.5%, all right? 0.5%. Same rule apply. We still need to move the decimal point to going to the left. So this is going to be 0.5. Okay, the percent is gone. From this decimal place, we move it 2 to the left. Okay, so 1, 2. So the decimal value over here, actually, let's cancel this out, is going to be 0.005. And that's how we change our percent into decimal form. So like I said, this is the one that we will mostly use all throughout chapter 7 and chapter 8. Now, one of the most common uses of percent is, of course, when you have word problems. And basically, when it comes to percent, we always follow a certain formula, and this is what we call as the percent formula. A is P times B, wherein A is the part, the percentage. P is actually the rate. This is the one in percent, okay? This is the one with the percent sign, okay? And then B is what we call as the base. Now, the nice thing about this is if you translate this in English phrase, your equal sign is always changed to is, and then the multiplication symbol is always of. All right. So whenever you have a word problem, of course in English, and you are going to compute it, all you need is to simply translate the English question into mathematical symbols by replacing is and of with equal sign, and then the multiplication sign, and then whichever is missing out of the 3 given numbers, then that's how we will be solving it. Okay, so let's have this example. What is 47% of 10? Okay, so what, we do not know that value, so that's the n, okay, or we can have it as x if you want. Okay, x is going to be equal to the equal sign. 47%, let's change it to decimal right away. So this is 0.47, and then of is multiply, and then 10 is our b. Okay, so pretty much we already have our we already have our equation here. And so if you're going to be solving this, x is equal to 0.47 times 10, so that is going to be 4.7. So that's how you solve for this particular problem, okay? Now, let's have this next example. Here, we have 25% of what number is 4. So again, translate this directly into an equation. So 25% is 0.25, okay? Of is multiply. What number is we do not know, okay? So we represent it as x. Is the equal sign, and then we have 4. And we have this equation. So how do we solve for x? So as you can see, x is multiplied to 0.25. So we divide this by 0.25. We divide the right side by 0.25. And therefore, x is equal to 16. Okay? That's another type of problem. This is a second type of percent problem. So here, the a is missing. In the first part, a is missing. Okay? This second example, as you can see, the one that was missing is the one after of. So right after of is the b is missing. Okay. So obviously our third example, 5 is what percent? So the p is missing in this particular problem. So again, from the English question, we translate it into mathematical equation. 5 is the equal sign. What percent? So we do not know, x, okay? And then of 8. So of 8, so we multiply by 8. So we need to solve for x. And as you can see, solving for that, we need to divide by 8 in here. So x is equal to 5 over 8, which I believe is our first example earlier. This is 0.625. But remember, we are looking for percent. So this decimal needs to be changed to percent form, and that is going to be 62.5%. So this third example is when P, oops, sorry, my bad. This is when P is missing. So these are the three types of percent problems that you will encounter. And so this is how you can solve whichever of these three is missing. Thank you.